Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
In the U.S., more than 610,000 people on any given night are homeless. Most are individuals living in cities, but not all of them. Some of them live in towns. Others live in rural areas. A large number are families, and more than half of those family members are children. On any given night, there are also a number of homeless children without families. The point is, homelessness isn't an isolated or big city problem that only affects individuals. It can affect anybody, anywhere. If you'd like to help, we've included some links to various organizations that can help you join, advocate, donate, or volunteer to fight homelessness. To see another video on issues that are affecting people now, please go to our social issues playlist. Or please subscribe and all of our videos will start showing up in your feed.
Hi, I'm Faith.
Hi, I'm Isis.
I'm Keelan.
Hi, I'm Martin.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel.
Hi, I'm Neil, and this is Youth on Subjects of the World. And today we're going to be talking about homelessness. And perhaps we should, I don't know, I'm pretty sure we all know what homelessness is. It's not having a home, pretty self-explanatory. And it, unfortunately, it affects a lot of people in America and around the world. So I don't know what we should open up with, what topic. Does anybody have any suggestions about what we should open with?
I have a suggestion. What is everyone else's experiences with homelessness? For me, my family and I, we drive by some of the largest cities in our state, and we see a lot of homeless people. Sometimes we stop and ask what they need, and later on we buy the stuff they need for them, and eventually we give them the things they need, which is my experience with homelessness.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea to go around and say what our experiences with homelessness are. So, mine would really just be probably, I don't know, maybe your average experience. I actually live just in the middle of nowhere in the woods. So, but I live not that far away from New York City, or Philadelphia, and we'll go there sometimes. And of course, there are, some homeless people, and sometimes, we'll give them some money, or a lot of the times, just see them. So, and I think another thing and obviously it's a really sad thing to see. So I think later we should talk about maybe what we can do to help end it. But yeah, that's my experience.
My experience is a little bit more personal. I've had friends and family members and various people that I'm close to and have been homeless in the past couple of years, and it's hard to watch. You try and do what you can, help them put a roof over their head and help them whatever expenses they need as much as you can. But it's really one of the saddest things I've ever experienced.
Is it my turn? Can I? I have been homeless. I'm adopted, but before I was adopted, I was sleeping on the streets, like alone, highways and porches, the whole that. Uh, that's my experience with homelessness. It's scary. Yeah.
My experience with homelessness, I live in Philadelphia, so I'm in the city like 99% of the time. And there's a lot of people who are homeless there, sadly, and I don't know, I wish I could help them in some way, but it's almost like it's just an overcrowded city or something. So, yeah.
My experience with homelessness, I live in the middle of Illinois, lots of cornfields, but I have family from Hong Kong. And so when we go and visit them a lot, we'll see lots of homeless people. Their home is on the streets. They sleep on cardboard boxes. Sometimes they sing or play guitar just for some hopes of a little bit of money. And we see a lot of disabled people who are homeless, a lot of people who have lost limbs and stuff. Most of the time we see them in the huge city parts of Hong Kong, like right in the downtown. And it's really unnerving and saddening to see people so desperate. But when they do get just a little bit of something from others, their face just like lights up. And yeah, it's like, it's really difficult to see them, but it's also very nice to see like their heart kind of, and how they react to like little bits of kindness.
I think another add-on to my experience, and I think maybe some people will understand this, is a lot of people seem to defaultly doubt people when they see them homeless. They might think, oh, they're just scamming, or oh, those bums, they should just get a job. And it's almost a little bit disheartening to see sometimes even loved ones immediately jump into the conclusion, you should just get a job, you bum. And people don't understand the fact that if you're going to go in and apply for a job at McDonald's, you're probably going to have, 50 other people applying for the job. And well, maybe not 50 other people, but you know what I mean. You're going to have probably multiple people applying for the job because it's not a very high skilled job. It's going to give you at least minimum wage salary. So you can have people applying for the job, and when you're sitting there and applying, you don't have a place to go home, take a shower, this, that, and all you'll have is, and they'll say, oh, where do you want to, where is your place of, where's your place of residence, and this and that. And if you don't mark that down, what is the job, the establishment is normally going to go with the person who's, okay, I have this person who has all this, he's cleaned up, he's got this and this, or this guy, he's homeless, I don't know how reliable he is. And then you have a huge problem with they can't even get a job. And then the few people, and then you have people just doubting them, saying, oh, they're just bums who won't get jobs. Or I'm not going to give them money. I'm not going to give them handouts. They're probably just scamming people anyways. And it's not like that doesn't happen. Of course, there are people who actually go around and dress up as if they were homeless to beg for change. But, I mean, if you're giving that, you just have to think about this for a second. If you're giving somebody who's scamming you an extra dollar, that sucks. But honestly, in a way, I feel it's almost worth it if you have a chance of giving somebody who really, really needs that money, an extra dollar.
I feel sometimes it's kind of difficult to tell the difference between those people who are acting and those people who really are desperate. Yeah, we see a lot of people like out on the highway and stuff, and you never know like what their background is, what their intentions are.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's a tricky subject because it's really you don't have any way of knowing what like who that person is and if they're homeless, if they're not, like the reason they have for doing this. But really, like a dollar, like that's like you give them a dollar, that's their dollar to spend, whether they're homeless or they're scamming. Like it doesn't really matter because now all you're out is a dollar, and you could have helped a homeless person, or you could have just given someone a dollar.
Well, there's those types of, I think there's, or at least in my experience, it always felt like there were kind of two types of homeless. There's more, of course. I just mean like a lot of people when they first think of homeless, they think of like an old person on the street who's been homeless for years and like is a veteran or like has a sign and everything. And then there's like, there's a huge community of like LGBT youth that are homeless and single mothers that are homeless. And that normally starts with like not having a safe environment, and then it moves to a lot of couch surfing, and then eventually people get kind of fed up with you, or you don't feel welcome anywhere, and it starts to be like street sleeping and looking for like shelters and stuff like that. And that's I feel like labeling it like long-term homeless and short-term homeless, or like I don't know. There's it's not all just like the same thing.
And sorry.
It's okay. I was just thinking of like the little things like when you were saying like giving people money. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I remember like once I lost my bus pass and I was homeless. I lost my whole wallet, which had like the couple dollars I had and my bus pass in it. So I was like stuck, and I was like, I don't know what to do. What? Like I had nowhere to go. I had no way of getting anywhere. I had no money for food. I had no home. I had nobody to call, and somebody gave me money for a bus pass. And actually, that was the day that I met my family that adopted me, and if I didn't get that bus pass, I wouldn't have met them. And like toothbrushes. Oh my gosh, so many people gave me toothbrushes. I had an extensive collection of toothbrushes because people just give them to you, and it feels so good when you like feel awful. Yeah.
Another thing is that, because, most people, let's be honest here, the most they're going to give to somebody on the street is probably $1, maybe $2, $3. Some people will even give $5, but for the majority of the time, you just see change when people, you just see change like in the cups that people hold out. And I just really have to say, I'm not trying to be an ass by saying you should just give money. No. All I'm saying is that you have to ask yourself, if you do have, some money to spare, and if you were going to give the money to a person that was homeless, you have to ask yourself, is it worth the risk of them just being a scammer and giving them $1 to actually help somebody in need? Because $1 can actually buy you quite a bit of food. Well, not quite a bit, but it can buy you at least some food if you get really cheap stuff. So, but another thing is homeless shelters. And a lot of homeless shelters require people to be completely, 100% completely clean of drugs and alcohol before they'll even do anything for you. And I see that as a bit of a problem because people need to understand that alcoholism and drug addictions, they're not something you could just switch on and off. It's not like doing something bad. It's you make one mistake and then you're hooked, and it's basically a disease. So are you really going to deny somebody safe haven, something that could potentially turn their life around, and give them a hot meal just because they have a disease? If I walk into a restaurant, will they deny me because I have a cold? It's basically basically the same thing, because people need to understand, again, if addiction is really a disease, you make one stupid mistake by taking some hard drugs or something, some cocaine or whatever, and then you're hooked, and it's then a disease. Yeah, and that's a problem for a lot of people because they can't just cure themselves of that addiction. So then they can't get the help that they need, and then they may end up just dying on the streets.
Another problem with homeless shelters is that, at least for the largest city near where I live, this is from the accounts of the homeless man I met along with my family. He said that a lot of the homeless shelters, you have to get there early in order to be let in because otherwise they're too full or there's not enough room or food. So that's also a problem. There's sometimes not enough homeless shelters, and there's also sometimes not enough room to hold a lot of them. And in the city that he was at, a lot of the time, well, for some time, on the banks of the river that goes alongside the city, there were homeless people camped out on the banks. And from what I've heard, eventually they were kicked out because a restaurant didn't want the homeless people in front of where they're selling their products. So
another thing is that addiction, I guess, I probably was over exaggerating what it is. You probably can't get addicted from just a single use. It would be multiple uses, and it of course would get more serious and more serious over time. But yeah, I mean, the point still stands. Most people who are addicted, most likely they want to quit because it does lower their quality of life. Maybe we shouldn't just, if anything, we should be helping these people rather than just saying, oh, you have this, you can't do this, well, then you're out. If you can't get clean immediately, then you're out of here. I mean, there's also the problem with, this is another thing, we have more empty houses in America than we have homeless people. And there are actually programs literally giving apartments, condos, or houses away to homeless people. And guess what? Once they have the house, obviously they help get them clean of drugs and alcohol. And once you give them a house, suddenly, you can clean yourself up every day and, maybe help them a little with clothes and other things. Just give them some starting equipment, if you will. And what do you know? They get a job, they start providing for themselves, and they become self-sufficient. And people will say, that's not the American way. We're spending too much money on these people. No, we're not. Because first of all, the American way, well, I don't know if the American way isn't to help people like this on the streets turn their lives around and make them a productive member of society while making their quality of life better, then I don't want the American way. Second of all, we're actually saving money by doing this. I know it's shocking. It doesn't make sense to spend money on a house and give it to somebody who's not paying the money. But we actually spend a lot more money on emergency care for homeless people. The amount of money we spend on that, because homeless people don't have health insurance and they don't pay their taxes. In fact, we spend government money on programs to try to combat hunger, disease, healthcare, and and yet when they get the house, they start giving back to society, because then they start making money. They start paying off on their house or apartment or condo. Then they start getting their own health insurance. Then they start paying taxes because they become a productive member of society. So yeah, we'd be saving money. And other people are just like, oh, well, I had to work hard for this, this, and this. And it's like, come on, you're just going to deny somebody a home, shelter, and help them become a productive member of society, saving the country money as a whole because of some like, oh, I want this to be this way because I did it. So yeah, I don't really. So it's a program that's happening right now, and I think homeless shelters should be more focused on trying to support those programs.
Another reason that there's a lot of homeless people, for I believe 46.2 million homeless people in the U.S. It's not only drugs and addictions, it's also domestic violence. I believe about 16% or if 15% of the homeless population is sent to homeless, well, becomes homeless because of domestic violence, because they are forced, because since they live in poverty, they are forced to marry to and like stick with people who would not be the best choice for them. And also, poverty is also a major way people become homeless, because the amount of jobs is gradually declining in the U.S. I believe, like, we all hear in the news about the low, like how jobs are scarce these days and the unemployment is going up, and those two reasons are also factors that go into someone becoming homeless.
Yeah, like definitely that's those two things factor in a lot because yeah, like it's sad because it's hard to like think about. Like when you think about a problem, you want to think of ways to fix it, and it's hard to do that. Like you come up with a solution and then you realize that causes another problem and it causes another problem, and it's really sad. Okay then. That doesn't usually happen. Neil, you got anything to say?
Um, well, Martin, do you have anything? No, I'm just kidding. Well, unfortunately, I probably would. I was just getting a charger for my phone because I didn't know it was at 5%, so I didn't hear what Nathaniel said or what you said, Martin, just at the last second. So I don't know how I could respond to what I don't know. So that's why I didn't say anything.
We were basically just talking about homelessness. I don't know.
Martin, that's what we're doing now.
So I guess I just ask you, I don't know if that's what you just said, but what do you think about the solution of actually giving homes to the homeless after the data, I presented about how, it would actually save us money. It would help people become productive in society and raise the quality of life. Not to mention the fact that the only other argument against this, at least that I can see, is just I work for this, that, the other, and basically just personal, qualms.
I have also heard of what you're talking about, Neil. I forget are there different people, like companies who do this, build small homes for people, or is it one organization?
I think there are multiple organizations, and they're more localized, I'm pretty sure, around different cities. And I think there are other, all I know is that I'm pretty sure there are multiple organizations that are doing this. And I think that's really nice. And if you want to, I'm going to say this right now, if you want to help homeless people, I think the best thing you can do right now, this is just from this is my opinion based on the research that I've done, which is probably less than the other people, but, just anyways, but what I think it would be to donate to these organizations that have the resources but need more money to do this. Because, as I just said, this is really helping to combat homelessness. And homelessness is one of those things where you're just sitting there like, I can go and I can give, some money to the person, one of a homeless person, but how can I combat homelessness as a whole? Because there are a bunch of other charities around the world for other things and homelessness. And I feel like this is an amazing charity that you could give money to. I also think, I don't know how we would do this, but homeless shelters should definitely, I think, stop trying to make people, you have to get clean or we won't clean up. I mean, like, no drugs or alcohol before we serve you anything or we do anything for you. And it's like, no, a part of the homeless shelter should be helping to get people clean of drugs and alcohol.
I agree. I feel that homeless shelters and a lot of rehabilitation sites should be partnering to help homelessness. I mean, solving homelessness isn't just giving someone a home, giving someone food. It's a whole really long process of like healing that person, helping them reintegrate back into society. It's just not just like a one gift thing and then done. I feel a lot of homeless shelters and rehab sites have to realize that it's like a really long process to solve this problem.
Well, it's not necessary. I hear a lot of like homeless people not being part of society, and I don't think a lot of times that's not very true. Like, there are a lot of homeless people who have jobs and homeless people who have families. It's just maybe they don't have strong enough relationships to stay with anyone, or their jobs don't pay enough money. People can go to work and be active members of society and have friends and family and still be homeless. It's not, because you're homeless, it doesn't mean you're removed from society or from being like productive. You're just homeless. You just don't have a place.
Yeah.
I think sorry, Martin.
Sorry. You want to go or should I?
You can go.
Okay. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I was about to say. That, like, it's not all, like, a lot of homeless people are not separated from society. Just because you don't have a home doesn't mean you don't have a job or friends or family or, like, participate and contribute to society the way everyone else does. It just means that you don't have a home base.
I think a problem would be I know there are a lot of homeless because the problem that I was talking about with giving houses, it really could only help with normally, I want to say almost what you think of when you think of a homeless person is somebody who doesn't have a job, who doesn't have a home, this, that, the other. But what about, for example, homeless children? You can't give them a house. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't give them a house. You can't help them get a job. I mean, there really are it's just one of those problems that, there's no, definitely, I still stand by, of course, the whole thing, giving houses, and it's not just giving houses, of course, it's also rehabilitation. Another thing that I have a problem with is literal places called homeless rehabilitation centers not even offering rehab for drug and alcohol addictions. And I mean, that's one of the biggest things for me, because imagine a place that can help you with every problem that you have. Let's just say, for example, that this rehab center let's just say that they will give you a house, or they will give you a job, or they'll just put you on a path to do something or whatever. And they won't let you in there because you have an addiction, and you just simply cannot get rid of that addiction because the literal chemical balance in your brain makes it extremely hard to do that. And I can't make the extremely emphasized enough. I can't emphasize, you know what I mean? I cannot, it's just the literal chemical balance of your brain is just altered. And the problem is that the harder drugs that you're on, That'll make it less likely that these places will take you in because it'll be more noticeable. And yet, also, these harder drugs will also make it so your will also make it that the chemical imbalances in your brain from the drugs will make it just a lot worse. So that means that it's harder to break the addiction because of how your brain works with supplying dopamine. That's what I mean by chemical imbalance. I mean dopamine receptors responding to adding stimuli. And the way it works is the more you take of that drug, the less and less you're going to get response from those receptors. So then you have to take more and more and more until the drop in dopamine in your brain from not taking any drugs is so much that, I mean, it can drive people to suicide. We really should be working on rehabilitation centers for this. I mean, seriously.
I agree with you, but you talk a lot about rehabilitation, but what about people who don't want to be rehabilitated?
I was going to say that because one of the people used to send me like links to places a lot, and I would I was watching a video on one of the shelters, and they it was for queer youth, homeless queer youth, but there's a lot of drug use in that community, unfortunately, and one of their they would accept anyone who was already addicted, but they would only let you stay there as long as you're willing to accept help, which sucked because there was still a lot of homeless youth then who just didn't want to get off of drugs. But I thought that was a pretty good approach, that if you wanted to change, you have a place where you can. Not the best, but...
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's some people who don't want to be rehabilitated or don't see a reason, like, or even see that they need to be rehabilitated. Like, they don't see that there's anything wrong with what they're doing.
Well,
and,
if that's... Oh, sorry, I thought you were...
Yeah, no, you can say what you want.
You're sure? Because I interrupted you during the middle of a sentence.
I was only going to repeat myself, but, like, in more detail.
Oh, okay. You're sure? Okay. So, I think that's a very valid question. I can honestly say I have absolutely no idea, because what can you do with somebody that doesn't want rehabilitation when you're talking about rehab centers? Could you just give them, a place to sleep and eat? I'll honestly say I don't have an answer for that, and I'd like to turn that around. What does everyone else think about that? Because I sure as hell don't really know.
Honestly, I think people should kind of start thinking about things like that more instead of worrying about like other things that just don't matter, and people just blow it off like, oh, there's homeless people, whatever. But like, people should really put thought into that. What about people who have addictions? And you never know if people are turning to addictions because they're homeless. And
That's also true.
A really big thing that drugs do is help you escape reality. It's actually a really fascinating thing that happens in the brain. It's one of the same concepts why we read books or watch a movie or play video games. What it does is our brain has reward centers that we have, and it stimulates those reward centers where we have a goal-oriented brain. And video games, they allow you to simulate that in a controlled experience. Books allow you to watch someone else. Movies allow you to watch someone else. It really does help stimulate that. But drugs do that as well, of course, on a much higher scale, as well as will not exactly stimulate the reward centers of your brain, but more take you out of reality, which is the same thing that books, movies, and video games also do. Take you out of reality and put you in for a fantasy universe, maybe, or maybe not even take you out of reality, just distract your brain by learning about this or that, just other things. Basically, you're not focused in the here and now, and drugs take that to the nth degree. So that, and I think it's actually a very good point to say that people would turn to drugs because they're homeless, simply because of the fact that, some people, maybe they've been there for who knows how long they've been there. Maybe some people who knows how long they've been there, and they just want to escape reality. And there's this drug, and they get the drugs, and they get hooked. And then, then you have this rehab place, and you can't get in it because guess what? After all those years of trying to escape reality, you want to go to this place and see what it can do for you. And oh no, look now, I can't go there because I'm completely addicted now. But back to the part of, people that don't, maybe want help. I mean, is it outrageous? Like, I don't know what you could do. Could you just not do anything? Because I think we should define, what do you mean? I know Martin and Kalon, you both said that, something about, what do we do with people that don't want help? What do you mean by that? Do you mean by people don't want help being rehabilitated, or they just want a place to sleep, or they just literally or just literally they don't want any help in anything, they just want to stay on the streets? Like, what do you mean by not any help? In what context?
Well, there's both. I don't know anyone. Well, I mean, I guess there are people who just want to stay on the streets, but there's a lot of people who just don't want help because they want to find it themselves, or they want to work. I don't know. They don't want to admit it's a problem.
Yeah, they're too proud to, like, they're too proud to admit that they have a problem, or if they want to figure it out for themselves and not get outside help.
Well, unfortunately, I think the only thing you could do is, I mean, maybe you could try to at least try to convince some people, saying, but we can help you all with this. You can try all you want to convince. Obviously, that would, like, people that just won't admit it. But I mean, wouldn't the only other thing you could do is just not do anything for people that just won't admit it? They don't want any help. They just want to figure it out themselves. I mean, isn't that the only thing you could do?
Yeah, well, pretty much, actually. Like, if someone's in the state of mind that they don't want help, continuously offering help will probably make them want help even less. If they want to try and figure it out for themselves, you should at least respect them enough as a person to let them do that.
Doesn't want any help.
My mic was muted. I said that seems fair. I mean, that seems like, I mean, it sucks because, I mean, you see somebody and you're just like, oh, but this can do this can do that. But Martin, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can't just say, okay, we're going to give you help now.
Yeah, but as someone who knows people who have been homeless, it's hard though not to, like, just be like, okay, I want to do all of these things for you. It's hard to, like, respect that they want to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, and our culture really does have a bit of a stigma on homelessness, and the bum mentality we touched on a little bit earlier, that people just think homeless people are just bums, and that mentality really could stop you from asking for help, because then maybe they think that they're just freeloading. They think these things that, oh, I'm just doing this and that's not good, or I'm just doing this or that or whatever, I'm just freeloading, or blah, blah, blah. And that's another thing. I think people should really be more just understanding of the situation. And what if you were just thrust into that situation? I would ask those people, what if you were just thrust into that situation without any warning and nobody gave you any sympathy for it? And if you asked for help, you would think that other people would think you were just a freeloading bum or whatever. I mean, how would you feel in that situation where you can't do anything? You really have to ask yourself that question.
I mean, yeah, I think even the people who don't want help should always have an open option right there for them to always be like, I have that to turn to no matter what. Even if they want to try and figure out their life on their own. I mean, I get that. but they should just have that option always there. Like I can
Yes.
go to a shelter when I want to. I can get food whenever I want to, not have to worry about like picking up pennies off the street to save up for things.
Yeah, like if they decide to ask for help, it's always there. Like not be like, fine, be that way, I won't help you now, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think we can all sympathize with when we want to try something new or we want to take a risk, having a fallback plan or just something to be able to just quickly fall back on. I think we can all sympathize with the feeling of security that that gives us. I don't know if we can, all can, but I can definitely sympathize with doing something new, taking a risk, and having a fallback plan or something to that can just and the sense of security that you feel in that and the confidence that you get.
What do you mean by fallback? Like,
or maybe not a fallback plan. It was like somewhere else you can, no, maybe fallback is the right term. If you're going on taking a risk or going on a different path to do something, and there's a fallback plan, quote unquote, where if that doesn't work out or you can't do it or you lose interest or passion, then there's that plan you can go back to and everything will still be okay. And, basically enabling you to take more risks because you know that you'll still be okay if you fail. And I think that gives you a really good sense of security. I'm basically just going off of, that whole point where, it's really great to just still have that option of a homeless center or a rehab center. Even if you're there either too proud or they want to try something, just having that option there really makes a difference. So do we think that we should maybe go to break really quick? Because I know we normally go to break sometimes around the 40-minute mark.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me. I don't have anything to say right now.
So thank you, everybody. See you after the break.
Eyes and lack of thought, nation to nation they have fought behind their desk, scared to lose the power they had killed to accrue hate children. You got to listen, you got to run, run, run from the pain. You got to run, 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 run away from this new beginning, the scene of fire. me day. To heaven I flew on Gomorrah's wing, my search to find a holy thing, the beauty I lack, the secrets I keep, sinking deeper and 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 deeper. Hey mama, can you hear I'm a dying man? Won't you lend me an ear? Hey, Daddy, do you know my face? Can you see me at the final taste? At the final taste. You got to run, 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 run away. You got to run, run, run from the pain. Hey, mama, can you hear I'm a dying man? Won't you lend me a tear?
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna share my homeless story now, I guess. What's that? What is that noise, though?
Jim, can you mute? Thanks.
Okay. Right. So, I was a homeless LGBT youth back in the day, and well, 40%. A lot of my queer peers have been homeless or dealt with homelessness. 40% of all homeless youth are gay or bi or trans, and I was one of them. When I was really little, I was always in the foster system. I had awful birth family, so I stayed with a lot of people. And eventually I was staying with someone, and they started having family problems, and I wasn't their family. So when they were going through a hard time, they kind of just left me behind. And I had, people. I had, friends, and it started with they left me at a family friend's house with no notice. Like, I was with these people, and then I wasn't. So I had this family friend that I barely knew, and I had no support, and I was so uncomfortable there. That's like a lot of people, I think a lot of people end up homeless because of bad relationships and being uncomfortable, especially like queer youth. Maybe their parents didn't necessarily kick them out and say, oh, you're gay, you can't live here. It's just, oh, you're gay? That's weird. I don't really accept that. I talk to you weird now. This is awkward. And you don't feel comfortable, and it's easier to be somewhere else. That wasn't my experience. But so I was at the family friend's house, and it got really uncomfortable. And eventually it got to the point where they weren't talking to me at all. Like, they pretended I wasn't there. It was just really bad. So I went to stay with someone else, and their dad was super transphobic, like would not use name or pronouns. It was so unbearably uncomfortable for me. And I wasn't technically living there. I was like spending the night. And after a couple nights, it was just like, okay, you can't keep staying here. And that was it for me. Like, those are the people that I knew I could stay with. And after that, it was like, okay. I was at an event, a queer youth night, and everyone was going, and it was getting later in the night, and the place was about to close up, and I realized, like, oh, I don't have anywhere to go tonight. What am I doing? And I just, there was like a leader person there, and I just we like sat for a minute, and I just talked to him, and I was like, so how's your day? I was just like stalling to like have a safe little space for a little while. And then I went on the porch of that place, and he left and turned the lights off. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm staying here. And I kind of just put my bag under my head and it's terrifying. So like I put like my wallet, my phone down my pants because I don't want people to like, I don't know, you do that stuff. And I couldn't sleep. That first night was it's like burned into my brain of just like sitting there, and like every little noise was terrifying. And I remember my phone was on like 17%, and I started calling a couple people just to like say, good night, how are you? I wanted some safety and someone to talk to. And it was really scary though, because I didn't want to be too loud, because I knew there was a group of homeless adults that were like not very far away, and I didn't want them to hear me, because that's like being a homeless youth. Homeless adults are so scary because like, I don't know, they're used to this, and I don't want to be like, because they have like their little community, and when you're not in that, you're afraid of being I didn't want to be a homeless adult, or like I don't know, they're scary. I was scared. And yeah, I was just on the phone with somebody, and I remember I was like sobbing because I was terrified, and I was just like trying to be quiet enough so that they didn't hear me on the phone, because I didn't tell anyone that I was sleeping outside, because it's not that, because I know somebody probably would have rushed in last minute and tried to help me, give me a bed or something, but I was so sick of being someone's burden. I was that forever. I've always been that. I didn't have parents when I was a child, so I was always just a kid someone was taking care of. And then after I came out as trans, it's an even bigger burden, because I'm this little trans kid that, I mean, I was sick of feeling like a burden. I wasn't going to start calling people and say, hey, can you please like find a car and come pick me up? I need help. So I was calling people, and somebody eventually fell asleep with, I had the phone on, and they fell asleep on the other end. And it was so comforting just to like have that phone, and I couldn't sleep. And the bathroom. Oh, when you're homeless and it's night, bathrooms are closed. So like you need to pee, and it's like, where do I go? I don't know. So I just started like walking around, and eventually I found a place. And I realized I've been talking about this one night for way too long. But anyway, that was my first night of being homeless. And then it went on, and I had more nights like that, and it got a little less scary, but I still couldn't sleep. And like, I don't know, I just think of the little things. Like, you don't have a place to shower, so you get really smelly. And like going to some friends' houses and showering was like such a blessing. A lot of people bought me toothbrushes, because eventually people would find out, and they couldn't, I don't know, they didn't usually offer a place to stay, but they would normally offer me like toothbrushes. So I had toothbrushes, and Pringles. I don't know. They would buy that. But showers are a really big deal when you're homeless. Bathrooms at night are a blessing. You need that. Cafes in the morning. Like, it's so weird to wake up and it's like, oh, I gotta move. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anything to do. I don't even have a place to charge my phone. So I used to go to cafes in early morning, and that was such a good thing. I would just sit there and try to get some energy. And I don't know, there's some, like the, where I live, there's a LGBT welcome center, and sometimes it's just open, and I loved going there. When they would open earlier in the morning, I would love just like going in and sitting on the couches to try to get some rest. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I was homeless. It sucked, but yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was definitely some really that was very appreciated input, definitely on this show. And yeah, just thank you so much for sharing. So I think that's another thing. I know we talked about this before, but I mean, there's not much you can really do for people like kids that are homeless. I mean, the break video was just talking about how, you know, there are so many homeless kids. And I mean, what you can't, like I was just saying, you can't give kids a house, you can't give kids a job, you know, so yeah, I don't really know what to say. Not much you can do for that, at least that I can see. If anybody has like the golden answer, then yeah, I'm open to hearing it.
I don't know. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that story. That was really eye-opening, and it was very interesting. And to Neil's question, does anyone have any golden answer? I don't think anyone has a golden answer for most of the things we talk about on this show. We seem to always have that moment, right? Like usually right after the break video where we're like, yeah, there's no real way to like fix this problem. There's no definite answer. And that's usually the conclusion we come to for most shows. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this one is just so, I feel like this not being able to come to a conclusion is almost like a bit more depressing, because I mean, at least for a lot of shows, we have like maybe multiple solutions, or at least a solution that might work. But for this specific, you know, problem, you know, none of us really don't know what, you know, we could do.
Well, I think what most, I don't want to say most, I only know my experience, but what I was looking for and what the like queer youth homeless community that I knew was just looking for like safety and a place to start, because like and a place not to be wanted, but like I mentioned, the issue of like feeling unwanted and being so fed up with that, like some place to go where you're not, where you're like really wanted and you feel that, like a lot of people near the end before I was adopted gave me homeless shelters to look at, and so I never did stay in one. I was really afraid of them because it's full of other homeless people, and
That's, I mean, another thing. What could we do about that? If there's somebody who's, if you're actually afraid of going to the place that's supposed to be the shelter, I mean, what can you do? And if you're going to have, you know, like a, you know, yeah, I don't know. And Yeah, this is just a topic where we already discussed the charity for that are actually giving some people, homeless people, houses that can help them they can get a job, they can get health insurance, they can actually become, they can just completely, move on, and that's great and all, but for these other things, you just don't know what to do. That's only one solution for one small part of the problem. And while it's a great solution for that one small part of the problem, it doesn't help, the bigger picture is still there. So yeah, I don't really know what to say. Normally we always at the end of the show have at least a broad range of solutions, and maybe not all of them fit in, but or at least we can say when we're just talking about a specific system, we can say that, okay, this part needs to be fixed, this part needs to be fixed. It can be replaced with these things, but we're not really sure what to do. And yet with this topic, it's not a system in place. Another thing really is, we talked about this earlier, we really need to stop putting this stigma about homeless people. They're just bums who won't get jobs. Because, yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that. We already talked about how sometimes you can't get a job if you don't have a home. Anyways, maybe, Martin, do you want to open a discussion about talking about veterans and homeless veterans? You don't want to open it?
I don't want to open it. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to open it.
All right. Does anyone else want to open it? Otherwise, I guess. Okay, go ahead.
I can open it. All right. Well, homeless veterans, I've heard about this. Isn't there some sort of insurance for veterans that they will get health care provided for them? Can someone tell me that exists, or am I making things up?
There's a program, I think, that is supposed to help veterans with health care and getting them places to live and all that stuff. But from what I've heard, there's just a lot of backup. It's not very effective, and it's just horrible to see.
Yeah, it's really sad because these people fought for us, and some maybe lost a lot of their friends sacrificing themselves to defend us. And is this how our veterans are forced to live in poverty and without a home? This is a very serious problem that we should solve.
Not to mention the PTSD that a lot of them have, and they're sitting there on the streets, possibly missing limbs because they were literally blown off, and they have post-traumatic stress disorder from having to end other people's lives and having their friends' lives ended literally in front of them. And it really is such a shame. Another thing is that I know there's this YouTuber called, it's more of a point where if you look on like Veterans Day, there are all these like discounts for veterans at the movie theater, discounts for pancakes at IHOP, and you see all these things, and they're just getting behind the thing like, we support our veterans, we offer discounted pancakes for them, we offer free pancakes for the veterans. And it's like, yeah, that's great and all, but I'm pretty sure the main thing that we should focus on, and I feel like people are it almost is just trivialized in a small way, because we're not focusing on just, this is an actual, I'm not dissing on places for offering free food for veterans. Why the hell not? But we really should be almost reducing how much support we give that, in raising the support we give and actually helping veterans that don't have homes, have PTSD, have limbs blown off, have all this absolute stuff that's happening to them. And we have so much pride for our troops. America is just so prideful for what they do. And I just sit there watching this stuff and yet we have these veterans wearing their veteran war caps and they're sitting there on the side of the street sleeping, and who knows how long they've been there. And they're just like, really, this is how you repay us, by just ignoring us. And then you have the people and then you have, of course, people like, oh, they're just bums again. And yeah, it ends up being just horrible. And the programs that we have in place, I mean, it's pretty self-evident why they aren't working properly. Not why they aren't, but that they aren't working properly. It's very self-evident that they aren't working properly.
I don't think that veterans feel that that is this how you treat us. I think they lose a sense of pride in feeling that people don't really care about them. I don't think they're like, why did you do this to me? Is this really how you repay me? I think they more feel that they're unwanted, a lot like the Vietnam veterans after they came back, who were spit upon by people, which was just awful. And I think people that's more how they feel.
People need to try to use basic empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. Once they're over there, what the hell can they do? They're being shot at. And if you look at the history of the Vietnam War, Jesus Christ, it's horrible. You have kids and random villagers that pull out guns and start shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. And I mean, just put yourself in their shoes. If you're over there and you can't even trust a child to not pull out a gun and start shooting at you, then what do? Do you run away? Do you do this or that? Do you shoot at them and end this child's life that's just being told by their parents? And then they come back home. And then you have this, and then not even are they ridiculed by some people, but they can't even go home because there is no home to go to at some points, and they have to stay on the streets. And it really is horrible. And this is a small snippet from a documentary called, has anybody seen the documentary called What the Health? I don't know when it came out. It's pretty unrelated. It's about nutrition and stuff. But all right, so What the Health, basically, it's interviewing some people about, there's a pig slaughterhouse nearby their home. And the person there, he sprays water on crops to feed the pigs that has like pig feces in it because these places are not worked properly. And there's just smog in the air from the overpopulated factory farm, and they're spraying this everywhere. And the lady there, she's holding a child, and she's talking about just like how horrible it is. And they interview the person inside, the husband of this woman. And guess what? He's a veteran, and his home that he has, they're saying that they have everybody that they know is dying of some sort of lung or throat cancer because of this. And it's like, it's just how we treat them in general. And then you have these people who are just on the streets, homeless, in this bum mentality. And I guess you could go back to the thing where, just give homes. But who knows if that person there with that stuff being sprayed on them was given a home. Is that the home that they're giving out? Are those the homes that they're giving out? And just how in general it works. And there's no golden solution. There are a few, like maybe donating to homeless shelters, and donating to these projects that build homes for the homeless. But other than that, you still have the healthcare problem. But yeah, I mean, that's all I can say. Maybe you can donate to the places that build people houses, or the government programs that help veterans with health care and getting houses and jobs. But yeah, that's what I have to say on that topic. I gave a bit of a solution.
Neil,
but
I kind of thought it was interesting what you were saying about like Veterans Day, how it's not really about actually helping veterans. It's like, I feel like Veterans Day is more of a commercialized thing. It's like, oh, we have these sales and things like that are like kind of helping people. I mean, yeah, that's great. But I think people on Veterans Day should be thinking more about like what these actual people who were veterans are going through right now instead of thinking about like a barbecue or something.
Or like IHOP giving away Veterans Day freebies. It's not like that's bad or anything.
Yeah.
But it's like it's almost trivializing it in a way. Oh man, I love Veterans Day freebies. Let's go there right now and help support the veterans by giving IHOP more money. And they walk by a homeless veteran on the streets that could be missing some of their limbs. It's like, I love Veterans Day freebies.
It should be 24/7 about helping veterans. You know what? Not even just Veterans Day. Like, you should be thinking about it all the time. It shouldn't have to be a holiday to help people.
Yeah,
or at least giving them the most basic right of, giving them at least some, recommendations for what they did. And by recommendations, I mean having a place to sleep at night and having a meal and, health care. That might be good.
Yeah, like, I feel like Veterans Day is kind of like, yeah, we give back to our veterans. We give them free pancakes. What are you talking about? We care so much. Like, it's, yeah. And, like, all of the car sales, and basically it's just like another holiday for the car dealerships.
Basically, yeah, just for stores to make more money because there's going to be, like, families coming in for the holiday.
I don't think it really helps veterans.
Like, you don't see actual homeless veterans going into IHOP and getting pancakes. Like,
I know,
I see a bunch of families at a table with, like, a bunch of kids who probably aren't even going to finish that food.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be in the dumpster in the back, and that's what the homeless veteran's going to be eating.
Yeah, and that's extremely sad because go to IHOP, eat all the pancakes you want, whatever you want, but don't pretend that is what's actually helping these veterans, because the chances are if you're going to go get a discount on a car, you probably don't need the freebies as much as the people sleeping on the side of a curb.
On a little bit of a lighter note, it's awesome that we're using pancakes as the center of this extremely serious topic.
Yeah. I know. Maybe, yeah. I don't know if that's pancakes, am I right?
Totally.
Pancakes.
So, yeah.
Does anybody else have any other things to say on this topic or the topic of homelessness in general?
I mean, I just think it's really sad how people treat homeless people like it's just like they're nothing. And then I feel like people who are homeless start to actually think that, and it's like that gets to their head.
Yeah, they're not nothing.
And it makes them resort to horrible things like addiction, crime. And it's wrong that they should have to feel that way or feel they have to resort to things like that.
Another thing is that I just wanted to say that there was a YouTuber who made this video about this exact topic. We're talking about Veterans Day freebies. That's the literal title of the video, talking about how there are people who can't even get health care and they're getting just horrible crap done to them. And, but look, IHOP's giving Veterans Day freebie pancakes. And it's actually done in a comedic way, so it's not as hard-hitting. And I don't know, he's a mainstream YouTuber. It's H3 Productions. He made a video about that, and that's what inspired me to talk about just this subtopic a little bit. Just, it's kind of disgusting how it works. Not that they shouldn't be giving out Veterans Day freebies. Why not? But don't pretend it's the real big deal, and don't say like, oh yeah, everybody love us, we're giving Veterans Day these free things.
Yeah, we're helping so much.
Yeah, we're helping
pancakes,
people.
Sure.
And the person sitting next to our dumpster digging the pancakes out of the trash to eat out that's covered in flies are other veterans. But yeah, we're helping them.
Yeah, like it's like
Totally.
that one song from a couple years ago, like, do you like pancakes? Yes, I like pancakes. Well, let's give them away for free, because money.
Mm. Anyways, so if anybody else doesn't have, I know, Martin, you suggested in the chat we should maybe move on to closing statements. Does anybody have any other things to say on the topic of homelessness?
But what about, we haven't really touched on food drives.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something I'd like to talk about.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a huge thing about canned food drives, and I think that canned food drives, there's a big problem with them. And that's that they use canned food drives to clean, people use canned food drives to clean their pantries out. And a lot of the food
Yeah.
is expired and nutritionally deficient. It has, first of all, canned foods have high quantities of sodium in them, and that's not very good for you. They're, a lot of times they're nutritionally deficient. They don't have that much, stuff. And people have to go through every single can, checking if it's expired, if it's not expired, if it's expired, if it's not expired. And it's really very, very ineffective as a whole, because even if you do get something that is after it's been taken by you, bought by you, put in a box by you, then taken by somebody else in a truck, taken to a warehouse where they sort the cans, then taken to the homeless person. If it hasn't expired by that time, then it's still probably a bit nutritionally deficient. Then it could be very high in sodium, and you're probably going to need more than one meal in a day. And if you're getting canned food drives for that meal, you're going to get a heck of a lot of sodium from that, which could raise blood pressure and all different horrible things. And then there are those people who go out and buy fresh canned goods for homeless people. People actually go out and buy fresh cans of food to give to canned food drives. And you still have the problem with sodium, maybe a little bit nutritionally deficient, more on sodium, but you still have a problem with sodium. And then guess how much money you could buy for $1 at like fresh food? A heck of a lot. You could buy tomatoes, blah, 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 but it's a bunch of crap. It's ridiculous. It's actually pretty ridiculous how much fresh food you can buy for a single $1.
It's a lot better. It's a lot better instead of you buying cans for the food drive. It's a lot better to donate to the food drive, because they can get a lot more.
Yes.
They can get a lot more food if you give them $1 than you could buy with $1, because like they can contact local farmers who will give them cheaper prices than what you can buy at your local supermarket.
Donate, and that also removes the middleman, and donate to a food bank. They buy fresh foods and produce, and it is absolutely ridiculous. I've done some research on this, and it's ridiculous how cheap plant foods are. It's kind of ridiculous how cheap just plant foods are, just like whole plant foods, like plants, black beans, rice. It's pretty ridiculous how cheap they are and how good they are for you. And it's just, if you donate them to a food bank, it's amazing. It basically solves a heck of a lot of problems. All right, anything else? Anything else on the topic of... Sorry.
Sorry. I guess all I could say is I don't fully agree with canned food drives, because it's not like someone could just survive on canned foods for that long. Like, to base that as your primary place. So, like, I think a regular food drive is better with, like, actual food instead of canned food, because there's so many preservatives and stuff in that. It's like, I don't know.
And the best thing to do, again, is just donate to a food bank, and they buy the fresh produce for you, and they give it to homeless people. So just donate money to a food bank. But yeah,
that is a better place to go.
Yeah, it's just objectively better. It's just objectively better. But anyways, so is there any other top things, anything on the topic of homelessness, anything at all? Otherwise, we can just, I guess, end the show.
Well, one question on food banks. What do they just I've never been to a food bank. Do they give you food, or do they prepare food for you? Because like,
What?
if you have like cans, you need a can opener. If you have food that needs to be heated, you need to heat it up. Also, like having a place to, I don't know, like, are food banks just a place where you take food from?
Well, no. Well, basically, I've been, well, I don't know if it was actually a food bank or a food drive, but basically some stores like donate food also, like food that is close to expiring. But anyway, they ship them to these food drives or food banks, and they like set up a sort of little marketplace where people can take some food, like just people come and take food and they're given a basket, some bags, and they go on their way. But it might not have been for homeless people. It might have been for people who were close to being homeless or who are in a tight spot, but it might also apply to homelessness.
Yeah.
Well, homeless people.
Yeah, food banks for like when you're homeless seem not to be as helpful. I think having some place to eat is really important when you don't have a home. Events, like when community centers or something put on an event with like free food, or on it, even if you didn't have food there, just like an event, because it's some place to be. Because like when you're homeless, even if you like have a really busy calendar and you do have like a full-time job, there's still a lot of time when you just have nowhere to be, and you could like sit outside of Walgreens, but that's not I don't know, you don't want to sit outside of Walgreens. I don't know, like having events and places to go to and like hosted dinners and stuff would be nice. I don't know. That's cool.
I just wanted to quickly touch on, we were talking about like Veterans Day freebies. They're just, but there's actually a restaurant that what they do is they take the food that wasn't eaten that day and they give it out to homeless people. Mm-hmm. And so the food is fresh every day. That restaurant is called Pret a Manger, and it's actually spelled Pret a Manger, but it's a French restaurant, so you pronounce it, I think it's Pret a Manger or something like that, but it's spelled Pret a Manger. And basically all their food is fresh that day because they give all the other food away to homeless people. I don't know exactly where a lot of the restaurants are. I know a lot of them are in New York City. I don't see that many in Philadelphia. I don't know where they are in other places due to the fact that New York and Philadelphia are the big cities that I visit a lot because I live very close to them. But yeah, I mean, if you actually just want to eat something and maybe help homeless people, yeah, that's a really good option. The only thing, they mainly do soups and sandwiches. I know that what I normally get there is just a falafel sandwich. It's literally just falafels and some other stuff. I know that the falafel sandwich is also vegan. I think some other options are vegan, vegetarian. So there really are quite a few options for a lot of people. So it's pretty good. But yeah, that's if you want a quick bite to eat and you happen to be near one of those places, you can know that you it's obviously not as good or equivalent to actually literally donating money to one of the places we talked about. But you need food, so that could be a good place to try to eat. Anything else? Do we want to move to our closing statements?
Sure. So basically, I guess what I would like to hope.
There are laws against feeding homeless people. We just got this
there is. I know one of for Thanksgiving. I know a friend of mine wanted to go around because they had a tradition of like making a turkey in the back of their truck and giving it out around this lake that's known for being like a big homeless population place. And they were banned from doing that after a year. Like police came up to them and were like, hey, you can't do this. You need to have like a like, it's not called like a charity license, but you have to be like a charity license. Yeah, to do that.
I mean, is there a real reason for that? I mean, I can't see an actual legitimate reason. Like, what reason would that be?
I don't know.
I had
What
no
the
idea it was
hell?
against the law to
I
feed a person.
had no idea.
That's crazy.
Of course, I'm pretty sure that Prete Manger place, or Prete Manger, whatever you want to pronounce it as, that place probably would have a permit, and obviously all the food banks would have a permit, but, I mean, if I just have a meal and if I just have, like, some food and I just want to give it to somebody, I mean, if I can't do that, I mean, part of my French, that's bullshit. I mean, if there's no reason. I mean, come on. Seriously? Unless there's an actual legitimate reason? What the hell? People were arrested for feeding the homeless in Tampa. Jeez.
That's where
Seriously?
where I live. Yeah.
That was just a type. Yeah,
So I can be arrested for possibly saving a person's life, apparently.
I don't know, Anne, can you, find, like, I don't know, something that, can you, like, elaborate on that? Because that's pretty, that's insane. I mean, jeez.
I actually had that buried in the back of my head because I knew that at one point because I got into a big conversation about it with someone like 3 years ago, and I completely forgot until just now. Yeah, that's crazy. It's also like, I think it's technically illegal to have a lemonade stand and stuff like that. Like all of these things that are completely stupid and pointless.
It doesn't make any sense.
That are illegal.
One moment.
It's legal to have a lemonade stand. Or
Wow.
for
I know
a
my
homeless
picture.
person.
My picture's frozen, but can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Because I'm looking at this article that's talking about the people arrested in Tampa for feeding the homeless.
Okay.
Wow.
Have a lemonade stand
Okay.
too.
Jimmy
Neither does to
Dunson
me.
was... All right, so Jimmy Dunson was scooping quinoa and mushrooms onto plates for a line of homeless people Saturday afternoon when the warning came. You got 30 more seconds in which to take the table down or these folks will go to jail, said a woman who identified herself as a Tampa police lieutenant. According to a video from the event posted on Facebook, Dunson and other volunteers from the group Tampa Food, Not Bombs, okay, didn't budge. Officers arrested them a few minutes later on trespass after warning charges on the grounds they were operating in city-owned Gaslight Park without the required permit, a move the group has characterized as criminalization of compassion. So what do you think about that? Criminalization of compassion. That seems justified to me. Can you guys hear me? All right, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that our government does and a lot of laws that really don't make any sense. But, you know,
that is sadly what a constitutional I forget what it's called. It's a constitutional republic. That's sadly what a constitutional republic is. We sadly aren't a democracy, even though I wish we were, but that'd be really hard in finances. But that is sadly the case with our country.
Not to mention, sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I'm done.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sorry. But it's just that, it's not that this was because some people would go out and buy a fast food Big Mac or something. This was literally quinoa and mushrooms. That's extremely healthy. And it's like, oh, you're arrested for that. I mean, unless there's a legitimate reason, which I can't even see a legitimate reason for that. It's not like they're drugging the food. I mean, come on. Are they drugging the freaking food?
Why would someone do that?
I get it if they want to test the food or whatever, but I highly doubt anyone would take the time to poison food and then give it out to a bunch of people.
And I'm looking at these images, and it's not like chaos or anything. They're literally just, there's this table here, and they just have like paper towels. They're making like pots of it right there. There are quite a few people there. And geez, it's just, and then you have this other picture with just like at least 10 police officers around the area. And it's like, oh my God, is there a better use of your time?
Yeah, like, to be completely honest, though, like, it doesn't really surprise me. Like, it bothers me, and I think it's wrong, but it doesn't surprise me because, I mean, like, when you see that kind of thing happening, or at least I do, I just had that little thought in the back of my head, like, someone's going to get in trouble for this for no reason. Like, this is, it's terrible that that's wired into my brain, but, like, it's people doing good things. When you're growing up, you're told that you get rewarded for being compassionate and doing good, but that's not really the case.
And Martin, let me ask you something. I mean, you just said it yourself, but it's so troubling that you aren't surprised because of this happening. And I'm pretty sure quite a few of us aren't that surprised. Maybe some of us are, but I mean, looking back on it, it's like, how can I be that surprised? It's like, something like this is going to happen. And it's just like, yeah, it just sucks. And it just goes back to other things. Like, I know animal activists were barred from not entering slaughterhouses, but just filming like near slaughterhouses because just filming near slaughterhouses just to put out the cruelty. And also, people were arrested during something called the Toronto Pig Save, where they stopped a truck full of like pigs that couldn't even move and just literally fed them water. And they were all arrested for that. Not all of them, but some of them, like the leader of that was arrested. And but this isn't doing anything. They're just feeding people some food. And it's like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Come on. I mean, another thing is that you shouldn't, I want to say don't blame the police officers in a way, because they have to do their job. And yes, they could stand up to it and not do it, but they have a family to take care of. They have bills to pay. They might not be able to deal with that. You really need to talk about the legislation.
Yeah, unless I see an officer like abusing their power, I never, or at least I try not to blame them for situations like that.
Because they're just doing their job at the end of the day, even if their job has some stipulations that are some bullshit like that. Unless they're like abusing their power, but this is a literal law.
How did this law even become? Who brought up this law? Like, hey, we should ban feeding people who need help or feeding homeless people. Like, how did that even come to be? Whoever thought up of that, I'm wondering.
I don't think their idea was don't feed homeless people. I think feeding homeless people just was under the umbrella of some law that was made about not group feedings, but like, I don't know, a group of people gathered for food.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the, like, you can't feed homeless people. It's the, like, there's some law that restricts you from doing this, even though it's not intentionally restricting you from doing this. So do we want to do our closing statements?
Yeah.
Are we good with that? Neil, you're frozen, but can you hear?
Neil?
Oh, no, we lost him. Okay, so who wants to go first?
I'm back. It was a problem. I just wanted to say something really quick. Did you hear me talking about the criminalized compassion and stuff? How Jimmy Dunson, he was scooping mushrooms and quinoa onto their, I don't know, I was reading the article out loud. I don't know if you guys could hear me. So that you could hear, but you couldn't hear the other thing. That's weird because, man, it's weird. It's weird. Anyways, but yeah, one of the 7 people was quoted as saying, who was arrested, by the way, was saying that there shouldn't be a law preventing people from being kind to each other. And he was arrested, by the way. So yeah, closing statements. Martin, you want to go?
Closing statement.
Uh,
This is sucky and really scary.
I guess mine would be, don't like judge someone just because they're homeless. Like, it's not a collective group of people. Not everyone is the same in any, like, you can't look at any group of people and say they're all the same in any way. And that same thing applies to people who are homeless.
Yeah, go ahead.
My closing statement is that I implore everyone who is watching and everyone here to help whoever you can in your community and try at least to make a difference by donating to a food bank or food drive, or just asking a homeless person what they need. I mean, I don't think you can be arrested for just doing, like, just asking what people need. So yeah, I just ask that you at least try to help.
But you can be arrested for giving them food, which is so stupid.
Give them a toothbrush.
But my closing statement would be, if you want to help, a good place to, if you want to help and you want to eat something, maybe go to that Pret-a-Manger or Pret-a-Manger as it's spelled place. Just look it up, or you can go or donate to a food bank or the places that provide houses for the homeless. You can also, I'm sure there are countless charities that try to help homeless veterans as well. And also, that law sucks, but we can, if we all work together, maybe we can change it one day. And I don't know if that's in all states, but yeah, if you want to give food to a homeless person, be sure to look up in your state what the law is for that. Thank you very much. And I just like to always end, my closing statement with solutions, and I just presented those solutions for you. They're not very solutions, but at least something you can do. Something.
But before you like end it, does anyone else have?
Oh no, I don't end it yet. Don't end it. I meant end my closing statement. Yeah, I meant my closing statement. I like to end.
My closing statement would be, don't judge someone based on the position they're in or treat them a certain way, because you don't know what it feels like to be in their shoes. And yeah, I mean, I assist you if anything.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't judge them, because yeah, what you said.
Cool.
Yeah, just do your part. Do everything you can to help. Just be aware of what's happening. Be informed.
Was that the last closing statement?
I think so. I think we're...
Yeah, awesome. So
Thank you for watching.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks for watching.
The world.
Thanks.
Thank you. See you next time.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, that CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire: the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.